are now watching Rise and Fall Fantasy Game Day with your host, Dave Sarner.
Almost didn't do this at volume. What's going on, folks? My name is Dave Sarner. Welcome to the RNF Fantasy Game Day morning here, where we're going to be talking about all your Week 4 matchups, all the fantasy rankings, including expert rankings, as well as some of my risers and fallers, essentially guys who I think are going to rise to the occasion or pretty much fail miserably this week for your fantasy football matchups. We will get into DFS as well. I have rankings that I can show you guys. We're going to kind of go through it first. First and foremost, we'll go through injuries, news, notes, and all that good stuff, since there is a lot to talk about at the wide receiver position today. And then we'll finish off the show with the Parlay Pick of the Week. If you guys aren't familiar, this is your first time joining the stream, Parlay Pick of the Week is going to be a contest. I'm going to be doing a Parlay Pick of the Week every week. It's basically usually a 4-pick parlay, which is going to be this week. Could be player props, could be spreads, could be money lines, whatever. Generally, it's going to be kind of an either or option so that you guys have, different options to utilize for it. I'm going to post that at the end of the episode. If you guys want a chance to win a free custom authentic jersey, all you have to do is drop your answer for that 4-pick parlay into the comments before 1 o'clock today. And if you are correct, you will be entered into the contest at the end of the year. Now, there is a subscription goal for this, of course. I can't just give away, free stuff all the time. But I want to do something for the community if we could build this community. So this is kind of where we're going to aim for that, okay? That said, 75 subscribers will throw a new era fitted hat or a hat of your choice from the NFL shop, whatever you'd like. If we can get to, I believe it's 125 subscribers, then we'll do a non-authentic jersey of your choice, whatever one you want. And then we'll do, if we can get to 200 subscribers, okay, just 200. And I know I say just 200 since we're only at 20 right now, but 180 subscribers will get us to the authentic jersey in the contest. And of course, if you're worried that, we're going to be bringing in all these people in for the competition, well, they're not here this week or the next couple of weeks, and you happen to get some of these parlays right, you'll get multiple entries. So you can apply for this every single week. You can put your parlay into the comments every single week. And if you do win every single week, then you'll have a lot of entries and a better chance to win that jersey, even if we do get to our subscriber count. Okay, so that's kind of how that's all going to work. I just wanted to throw that out there before we begin. When we get to the parlay pick, I have that in writing. You guys will see a nice little graphic pop up on the screen, and that will give you kind of an idea of what we're doing for this, okay? Now, let me just crack open my Dr. Pepper. I already drank my coffee because I was up since 5 a.m. this morning. So this is the only caffeine I have in the house. Don't judge me for drinking a Dr. Pepper at 9:04 a.m. Eastern. But as Chocolate Thunder Matt said, my name is Dave Sarner, in case I didn't say that before. So with that all being said, what we're going to do today is we're going to jump into the injury news, notes, and updates first. All right, we're going to check out all that stuff, see what's going on. We'll jump into our rankings, which is more about the consensus rankings, essentially ECR from fantasypros.com. I like to look at the discrepancies between week 3 to week 4, essentially see who's the risers and the fallers on the board based on matchups, injuries, and so forth. So that's kind of how we're going to do the risers and fallers afterwards, as well as some guys maybe that I think are just going to be much better. And then we'll identify some DFS pricing. Oh, where I heard my phone. But it's okay. We'll figure it out. Hopefully no one will text me during this anymore, and we can just keep moving on with it. Quick before when I heard that very close. This is what it is. Okay. Anyways, so with that being said, let's hop into the news, notes, and updates right now. Now, there is, from what I'm seeing here, report just came out kind of recently. Elijah Mitchell is not expected to play against Seattle today. Dalvin Cook is expected to play. All right. Melvin Gordon is expected to play. Lamar Jackson expected to play. I actually have this whole list here, and I don't know why I'm looking at that because this is going to go a lot quicker. So, okay. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Anyways, so Lamar Jackson is questionable, but he is trending up in the right direction to play. Tyler Lockett is questionable. He is trending up to play, which stinks because I was playing against him today. And I say stinks, obviously. I'm happy to see everyone healthy. But when I have to go up against like 6 guys that are questionable and they're all going to play, it's infuriating. Andy Dalton is doubtful. It looks like another Justin Fields day. And, I mean, listen, I know it's Detroit, but, like, that was a bad game last week for Justin Fields. Like really bad. Probably, like, all-time career for anyone kind of bad. So, I'd be kind of a little hesitant playing him if you had to. Good luck. It could work out for you because, you know, at the end of the day, it's Detroit, but Detroit's defense is actually sneaky good, and we'll get into that when we get to the rankings here. But just to give you that quick idea, before we even get into it, Justin Fields, Detroit is giving up the 10th fewest points to quarterbacks right now. So they're a top 10 defense against the quarterback. It's not something I'm going to be looking into quite extensively unless you have a 2 QB league or you have someone hurt that you need to. But I would stay away from him in single quarterback leagues this week. Down the injury list here, so Dalvin Cook is looking like good to go. Jonathan Taylor looking like he's good to go. DeAndre Swift is looking like he's good to go. Antonio Gibson reported that he is pretty much active. Josh Jacobs, I think he is good to go. Let's just double check him. And I'll be honest with you, the NBC Sports Edge app is just not as good as Roto World was. I know it's like the same thing, but like something about it just does not go right with me here. All right, so he is questionable. This is as of 3:27 yesterday. So we're still kind of waiting here. They got to see how he is in the pregame warm-up. So that's something to look out for here. Kenyon Drake did fall in the rankings a lot, though, based on the experts. So, I mean, experts seem to think that Josh Jacobs is going to play, and it does seem like they believe that he's going to be maybe a little limited, but not that limited that he should be the main guy there regardless. Darrell Henderson trending in the right direction. Melvin Gordon looking like he's going to play. Elijah Mitchell, we just said he's going to be out. Gio Bernard already out from last week. James White obviously was put on IR. Brandon Bolden could be an interesting pickup. If he's still there, I would maybe wait a week, but third down back, he might be the guy there, so that could be an interesting matchup for you guys there if you're desperate for a running back play. Wide receiver, Tyler Lockett, we said, is going to go. Keenan Allen is active. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are both out for Tennessee, so make sure you adjust your lineups for that. I would be sitting Tannehill this week. I'd definitely be playing Derrick Henry, but Jeremy McNichols, he might be an interesting option, but again, that's a desperation play. I wouldn't even throw it in DFS, okay? Let's see here. Chase Claypool out, Sterling Shepard out, Darius Slayton out, so 2 wide receivers for the Giants out. It's probably why Kenny Golladay is higher in the rankings. Cordarius Toney goes. Maybe he has a game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there in that Giants game. Jamison Crowder looking like he is good to go. Darnell Mooney, again, we're still waiting on him as well. Elijah Moore out. Danny Amendola out. And then at tight end, Kittle is questionable, but it looks like he's trending in the right direction. As you probably all know, Gronkowski is out. Cameron Brate is what people are projecting to be the guy. Could be O.J. Howard too. It's going to be tough for me to play them. I did pick up Brate in my Dynasty League just in case Gronk was out multiple weeks, and now it's kind of reporting that he is going to be out multiple weeks. So he would be a pickup in a stash, a desperation play at tight end if you need to, maybe a DFS streamer. But if you have a better option this week, I would maybe just go with it until you see kind of the dynamic without Gronk in the lineup. Gerald Everett's out from COVID. Jack Doyle, questionable. Caden Smith, I put on there, questionable too, because Evan Ingram is just not good. I mean, it's just that simple. Guys who are active, by the way, Curtis Samuel back in the lineup for Washington. A lot of people down on him in the rankings this week. I'm actually like stunned at how many people are not really into the Curtis Samuel hype from the experts' end. You know, even with him being back for 2 days now, this is as of this morning that I update the rankings. And Curtis Samuel came in at, let's see, where are you at? I have to scroll down this far because he's so past like all these people. He was at 104 in the rankings. You got guys like Joshua Palmer from the Chargers ahead of him, Kenny Stills, Trinity Benson. I mean, Greg Ward is ahead of him for F's sake, you know? Anthony Schwartz, you know, and this was this morning. I mean, it was reported for like 2 days now, or I think yesterday morning, whatever, that he was going to be back. Now, that could update on the official rankings on the ECR. This is just my spreadsheet based on what it is when I did it this morning with all the data I put in. So if you guys want to go check out the more recent rankings from fantasypros.com, just go over to fantasypros.com. They have the ECR rankings. I do PPR, so I kind of organize it by that, and I do the full consensus. You guys can also do the top 10 consensus if you want. All right, so with all that being said, those are your injury news, notes, and updates. Well, obviously, if anything kind of breaks here, I'll try to update you as much as possible on the show. Now, if that doesn't happen, no worries. You know, we'll kind of go through it again at the end of the show as well, just to make sure, you know, we got everything covered. Let me just see one more thing here. Okay, so more recent report here. Looks like as of 9 o'clock, around then, Darrell Henderson is expected to play. But Sony Michel's there. So, I mean, now granted, Sony Michel doesn't really ever put up the points. He did, you know, he had 23 touches last week for 79 yards. So I would say like Henderson has a chance, but if he's banged up, don't be surprised if they do a little timeshare action. Again, he's one of those guys that I'm playing in that one dynasty league that has like 17 guys questionable, but they're all going, of course. George Kittle is expected to play, so just so you guys know, that's official now. Jonathan Taylor also expected to play, and Dalvin Cook. So the guy that seems like he's out is Elijah Mitchell, Melvin Gordon, Lamar Jackson. All those guys are expected to play along with Tyler Lockett. So there's no exact, you know, last week I know Dalvin Cook was like that big question mark going into the afternoon games. That doesn't seem to be the case this week. Alexander Madison's probably going to take a reserve seat. He might get some carries though in this game. It's going to be a tough defense to go up against, so I would think you would run a two-headed attack unless Dalvin Cook's just straight up shredding them. Then obviously I understand. You know what I'm saying? All right. So with that being said, let's go look at the chat here. So no questions in the chat now, guys. If I'm going through the rankings, I will not answer questions in the chat until after the rankings. Okay. Just because we're going to be in a rhythm here. You're going to see how I do it. It's going to be kind of just boom, boom, boom. We're going to go through it, talk about some of our key rises, our key fallers, and then move on to the next one. Okay. All right. So, with that being said, we got through the injuries. I think it's time to start our QB rankings, or at least our, you know, overall rankings for week number 4. All right. So let's get into the mood here. We'll take a swig of Dr. Pepper, and then we'll get going here. Another swig. So, week 4 rankings. Let's get into it here, all right? I got the chat up on my left, guys, so if you have questions, go ahead. I'll get to you at the end of it, all right? So let's get into it. At number 1, the experts have Josh Allen up in the rankings here this week. He was number 5 last week, so he moved up 4 spots into the number 1 spot here, going up against Houston, giving up the 28th most points. Oh, I'm sorry, they're 28th against the quarterback, so they're giving up a lot of points to quarterbacks right now. 8,000 on DraftKings. That is a pretty hefty number there, but it's a great matchup. Josh Allen shredded Washington last week. I love him at number 1. Patrick Mahomes at number 2 against the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles are actually 3rd against the quarterback right now, but the competition that they face so far does scare me. So Patrick Mahomes, I do think shreds him, and I think the experts agree with me here. He's up 1 spot from last week, even against a tough defensive matchup. 8,100 on DraftKings. I like Patrick Mahomes at number 2. Murray drops to number 3 here, going up against Los Angeles. It's kind of understandable. Los Angeles' defense is pretty darn good with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. They're pretty good guys, you know? So, 7,800 on DraftKings. They're giving up the fewest points, to the quarterback position. Kyler Murray can always do some things with his legs, so that's why he's at number 3. Justin Herbert comes in at number 4, one of our highest rises of the week again. 5 spots up for number 9 last week. This is probably more because of the Raiders' defense giving up the 20 most points to fantasy quarterbacks. 7,000 on DraftKings. I do like Justin Herbert this week as well. Tom Brady at number 5. How do you not like him in this matchup? I don't care what the rankings are for New England. He's going back to New England, and I think he's going to dominate here at number 5. Up 3 spots for number 8 last week, so he comes in at the top 5. Lamar Jackson drops down to number 6. I think this is probably because of the injury, but he's good to go here against Denver. Now, the rank against them, they're the 7th toughest defense against quarterbacks. That's going to be a little tough for Lamar Jackson, but he has that run aspect too. And his team, Marcus Brown, is probably, is playing good to go. Mark Andrews, Tyson Williams and the running backs is where I'm more concerned against Denver. But that defense is a tough defense here. 7,500, I'm probably staying away from Lamar this week. Jalen Hurts at number 7, one down from last week going against Kansas City, who's given up the most points to fantasy quarterbacks here. I think this is a smash spot for Jalen Hurts. I'm hoping I'm wrong as a Washington fan, in case you couldn't notice. So I have him at number 7, or they have him at number 7, the experts, dropping down 1 spot. Wilson at number 8, dropping down 4 spots against San Fran, giving up 30th most points to the quarterback position. So 7,100 on Russell Wilson on DraftKings. I do like the matchup. Divisional, though, so be careful with those. Matthew Stafford comes in number 9, up 2 spots, going up against Arizona. Dak Prescott, number 10, going up against Carolina, dropping 3 spots because Carolina's defense has actually been really stingy against the quarterback, so be careful there. But 6,700, Dak is a stud with that offense. We'll see how it goes. Aaron Rodgers at number 11 this week against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh giving up the 22nd most points to quarterbacks right now, so I like the matchup there. Kirk Cousins at number 12 against the Cleveland Browns. Derek Carr at number 13, up 5 spots for number 18. He just continues to play well, guys. And I have to say it, Derek Carr for MVP as of week 4. It's not out of the question right now. Sam Darnold comes in at number 14. Love his matchup here, actually, against Dallas. I mean, the defense has played well last couple of weeks, but I think Sam Darnold might be able to get some things done. I might throw him in my DFS lineup at 6,000 in value. Joe Burrow, number 15. Going up against Jacksonville. Oh, sorry. We already did that. He played really well here. So just to give you an idea, I have the rankings from the Thursday game just so you guys know where they are coming in at. So Burrow, who was ranked at 15 against that Jacksonville team, obviously him and Trevor Lawrence, I think bright futures for both. Then 16 comes Taylor Heineke. I love the matchup for Heineke. 21st against the quarterback is the Atlanta Falcons. Taylor is a really nice DFS play, in my opinion. Up 10 spots in the rankings this week. Tannehill down 4 spots, definitely because of his wide receivers at 17, Baker at 18, Teddy Bridgewater at 19, and then Matt Ryan against Washington at 20. Listen, as a Washington fan, I'm actually kind of concerned that they have him that low. This defense, especially the secondary, has not played up to that potential this year. And then as we talked about, Justin Fields, buyer beware if you're going to start him this week. Daniel Jones, same thing against New Orleans. I'd be fading him. He's down 10 spots going up against the toughest defense to quarterbacks. At 5,800, I'm fading Daniel Jones this week. Jimmy Garoppolo in Seattle could put up a good performance there. Seattle gave up the 24th most points to the quarterback position. I like him this week. And then Trevor Lawrence coming in at 24, and Jameis Winston at 25, Jared Goff at 26, Mac Jones at 27, and then Jacoby Brissett at 28. Guys, Big Ben dropped 7 spots in the ECR to 29th overall. Against Green Bay, they're 14th against the pass, against quarterbacks. So it's not that great, but 29th, I mean, this just shows you how much faith they don't have in Big Ben. No Chase Claypool. We'll see how they do. I mean, listen, I could throw Carson Wentz, Zach Wilson, Davis Mills in here. Wentz maybe, but like Mills, Zach Wilson, you're probably avoiding this week unless you have a 2 QB league. To the running backs. Derrick Henry comes in at number 1, going up against the Jets, who are giving up the 25th most points to fantasy running backs. I'm sorry, they're giving up like top, 20. They're 25th against the running back position. I'm just going to say it like that, right? Austin Eckler, surprise at number 2, up 5 spots from last week, going up against Las Vegas. Alvin Kamara up 1 spot, number 3, going up against the New York Giants. Mixon came in at number 4, just so you guys know. And number 5, Aaron Jones, going into Pittsburgh. Hosting Pittsburgh. He's at the same spot as last week. You're going to start him if you have him. No questions asked. DeAndre Swift, one of our biggest risers of the week, up 10 spots from last week. Well-deserved. He is tearing it up, but he does get a Chicago defense that is pretty tough, but doable for him. He's going to get a lot of dumped down passes, hopefully, and that's going to build it up, especially in a half-point PPR to a PPR. Now, Najee Harris, guys, I like Najee Harris this week. I mean, I know the matchup is not crazy good, but it's not crazy bad either. He's up one spot this week. The experts seem to like him as well. 6,800's a little steep on DraftKings. I'd rather go with DeAndre Swift at 6,200. That all being said, Najee Harris is a good option. Nick Chubb down 2 spots at number 8, going against Minnesota. 7,000 on DraftKings. Ezekiel Elliott up 2 spots after a good performance last week, going against that number 1 ranked Carolina defense against the running back position. He's up 2 spots, so at number 9, they like him at 6,500. Jonathan Taylor, he's a go this week, going up against Miami, 27th against the running back position, so they give up a lot of points to the running backs. Taylor rounds out your top 10, but does fall down a spot from last week. All right, David Montgomery coming in at number 11, 24th against the run is Detroit. It's a good matchup for David Montgomery, guys, and listen, I would think that they would try to utilize this offense better for Justin Fields, to utilize some more RPO, to utilize some more under center, get him in play action, and in order to do that, you need to run the ball with David Montgomery, so I like him this week. I also like Antonio Gibson at number 12 against Atlanta at 6,100. Dalvin Cook at 8,100 at number 13 right now. And this could be, again, we don't know how much target share is going to go to him and Alexander Mattison, if Madison's going to cut into that because of his injury. But, you know, if you have Dalvin Cook, you're probably going to start him. Saquon Barkley at number 14 against New Orleans Saints. One of the top 5 defenses against running back position. Makes sense. James Robinson came in at number 15. Chris Carson at number 16, down 3 spots, but going up against the 29th ranked run defense against the running back position in San Fran. Clyde Edwards-Helaire up 1 spot. Had a great game last week, even with that fumble. We hope he doesn't fumble again, but it was encouraging to see the volume there. I had him in my DraftKings. I had him as a riser last week, and now he's rising just 1 spot, but going up against Philly, giving up the 23rd ranked against the running back. 5,400, best value of these top 17 guys is Clyde Edwards-Helaire for your DK DraftKings lineup. Chuba Hubbard at 18, going up against a tough Dallas run defense. Miles Sanders at 19. Kareem Hunt coming in at 20, up 4 spots from last week. Chase Edmonds at number 21, stays right where he was from last week, going against the Los Angeles Rams. That's a risky play. I think 10, 11 points for him is probably what you expect. Myles Gaskin at number 22. Mike Davis at number 23, up 3 spots, going against Washington. I actually hate this ranking. Washington is giving up the 4th fewest points to running backs right now, and Cordell Patterson is going to dig into those carries. They are actually probably where they're the most productive defensively for Washington is against the run. So Mike Davis does scare me this week. Melvin Gordon at number 24. Zach Moss at number 25. That's another one that scares me. Him and Devin Singletary, it could be either or all week long. Last week was Devin Singletary. This week is Zach Moss. Don't be surprised if it goes back to Singletary this week, or it doesn't even go to either of them and neither of them put up anything. 5,300 on DraftKings. He's a good value. Just be mindful that this is kind of a Shanahan situation in Buffalo with those 2 guys. All right, so rounding out the top 25 was Moss. Going into the rest of this here, we got at 26, Javonte Williams, 27, Darrell Henderson. That could go up a little bit when he's ruled official in, now that he is. Leonard Fournette at 28, in spite of Gio Bernard being out. They just don't have a lot of faith in Leonard Fournette. This is because Ronald Jones can come out of nowhere and become a guy again. So, Nyheim Hines comes in 29. Damian Harris dropping 11 spots this week. That's a tough one against Tampa Bay. That run defense isn't that great. So the fact is, Damian Harris just didn't play well. And it could be Brandon Bolden. It could be Ramondre Stevenson getting some carries. Just be mindful of the situation. If you have a better PPR, especially in PPR, have a better option. Maybe fade away from Damian Harris. Personal opinion. Cordell Patterson coming in at 31. I like this one a lot more. The experts have him 16 ranks higher than last week. I maybe would even put him at 23 where Mike Davis is, to be quite honest with you. Jamal Williams at number 32. 33 is Devin Singletary. Tony Pollard at number 34, down 2 spots. Trey Sermon at 35. It's a risky situation, but a great matchup against Seattle. J.D. McKissick, another good situation. He's a guy who can sneak into there, but I wouldn't rely on it. Tyson Williams down 17 spots this week with Le'Veon Bell back. That's one I'm probably going to avoid. And then rounding out the top 40, we have Michael Carter, Kenyon Drake, Sony Michel, and then Josh Jacobs at 41. That was probably before the rankings. Obviously, you could just literally move him up a little bit more. I would say I'd probably put him over Cordell Patterson at number 31. Okay, so in case you wanted actual value for that. And that rounds out your running backs. A lot of weird movement today. A lot of interesting movement. I mean, Zach Moss at 27 spots. Kind of weird. Wide receivers. Number 1, we got Devontae Adams. All right, number 2 last week. He goes up 1 spot. Cooper Kupp at number 2. He has been a fantasy stud, coming in 6 spots higher than last week. Tyreek Hill, of course, would have to then drop 2 spots from number 1, but you're still going to play him. Stephon Diggs comes in at number 4. DK Metcalf at number 5. Justin Jefferson up 3 spots at number 6. DJ Moore up 6 spots from number 13 last week to number 7. Keenan Allen up 3 spots to number 8. CeeDee Lamb up a spot at number 9. Calvin Ridley at number 10, dropping 3 spots. Even though it's a great matchup against Washington, I kind of agree with that ranking, to be quite honest with you. If anything, I would maybe even put Terry McLaurin over Calvin Ridley, at number 10. That's just me. If anything, I would definitely put Tyler Lockett coming in here at number 11 over Calvin Ridley at 10. But the experts have them both dropping because of the injury, and Calvin Ridley, I believe, maybe because they just think that he'll play better. I don't really know. I just know that Matt Ryan may just underperform this game. That's what scares me the most here. Terry McLaurin coming in at number 12, 5 spots higher. They think that Washington's going to really go off today. I know it's a lot of promises, but listen, Washington has let me down so many times. It's hard for me to trust him. I have Terry in my dynasty. I'm going to start him. AJ Terrell will most likely be on him. By the way, Curtis Samuel, we mentioned at the beginning of the show, coming up at 104 on this entire list. He should be much higher in the rankings. I think even at 70%. And I think he's higher than that, or else they would have kept him on IR. You can put him in your lineups as a sleeper in the flex or DFS lineup. I think he's a smash spot at $3,000 for Curtis Samuel this week. Mike Williams up 10 spots at number 13. DeAndre Hopkins comes down 10 spots to number 14 against the Rams. This is like easily Jalen Ramsey. It's a crazy scenario that Jalen Ramsey causes a minus 10 differential in DeAndre Hopkins rankings when he's just going up against him. Pretty incredible. Chris Godwin comes in at number 15, same spot as last week. Jamar Chase was up to number 16, 9 spots higher than last week. Deebo Samuel at number 17. Amari Cooper comes in at number 18, dropping 4 spots, going up against a tough Carolina defense. Adam Thielen, minus 3 on the game. Minus 3 down spots. He's at number 19. He was at number 16 last week, going up against Cleveland. Again, a top 10 wide receiver defense against wide receivers. So that's probably why the ranking stays there. Same with Mike Evans at number 20 against New England. 21 against Cortland Sutton. 21 is Cortland Sutton. 14th against the pass is Baltimore against wide receivers right now. He's at 21. Tyler Boyd came in at 22 from the Thursday night game. 23, Brandon Cupps up 8 spots from 31 last week. He just continues to rise, and we'll see if Davis Mills can get him the ball again. Allen Robinson at 24. This is a guy who I may be avoiding this week completely. I don't know what we're going to get with Justin Fields, guys, but this is kind of one of those weeks where if I had any of these guys above, I 100% agree with the rankings. Fade Allen Robinson if you had any of the guys that I just mentioned above him that can fill your lineup. 25 is Robert Woods. This is a guy who, I just think is just a matter of time until he goes off in one of these games. It's been Cooper Kupp mainly, but trust me, Robert Woods will get involved eventually. We just don't know when. So I like Odell next, though, over Robert Woods, in my opinion, at 26. And so do the experts in a way. 19 points higher for Odell Beckham, but he doesn't go ahead of Robert Woods. Slides in right at 26. Deontay Johnson comes in at number 27. He should be good to go. 28, Jacoby Myers in a smash spot. Some people really are high on him this week. They think that he can really go off. 13 spots higher than last week, breaking the top 30 for the first time this season. Marvin Jones at number 29, up 4 spots from last week. That didn't really go out as well as we hoped, right? I mean, he did not do well this week, so that ranking completely went down the crapper for the experts this week. But at number 30, Cole Beasley. Number 31, Marquise Brown. Antonio Brown at 32. Corey Davis at 33. I actually love the matchup, but some of the experts didn't love it. Although he is up 6 spots at number 33 this week, so he's a good option going up against Tennessee, giving up the most points to wide receivers. And it's a revenge game. I love revenge games. Just that, can Zach Wilson get him the darn ball without throwing 17 interceptions? We will see in this matchup. Michael Pittman at number 34, up 3 spots. Devontae Smith down 5 spots at number 35, even though he has a good matchup against Kansas City. Emmanuel Sanders at number 36, up 19 spots. He had a fantastic game last week. Let's see if he can continue that in Houston. Juju Smith-Schuster at number 37. Robbie Anderson comes in at number 38. Waddle coming in at number 39. Kenny Golladay at number 40. Brandon Ayuk at number 41. Tim Patrick at number 42. DJ Chark, number 43, man. Such a unfortunate thing to happen to him. I'm wishing him all the best. Broken ankle in the Thursday night game. If you missed that, just really sucks. He's out indefinitely. Hate to see that for any player. Christian Kirk coming in at number 44. Okay, Henry Ruggs at number 45. Rondale Moore at number 46, dropping 11 spots. I kind of like the value. 4,600 on DraftKings. He's a guy I might target this week in some lineups as a bounce-back game. If Jalen Ramsey is all over DeAndre Hopkins and he has to be forced to go other places, Rondale Moore could benefit from it this week. Devontae Parker coming in at number 47. Great matchup there, but Jacoby Brissett is quarterback, so take that for what it is. Darnell Mooney at 48. Double check before game time to make sure he's playing. Hunter Renfrow, at number 49. Actually, a lot of spots. Up 15 spots from last week, guys. Going up against the third best defense against wide receivers. Laviska Shenault came in at number 50. He obviously exceeded those expectations with a big game on Thursday night. Terrace Marshall's another guy who maybe people are thinking going to be better than Robbie Anderson in this game. At 51, up 15 spots. They seem to like him. 4,000 on DraftKings. He's potentially going to be the slot guy. I mean, listen, I've had him in my lineup. He hasn't quite gotten there, but he started to pick it up last week. Maybe they think he's finally going to turn that corner. He is that LSU rookie receiver, and League loves LSU rookie receivers. They usually pan out if they show any type of skill. So that should be interesting, and we'll see if that is true. Nicole Hardman comes in at 52. Fuller coming in at 53. Sammy Watkins at 54. Rager comes in at 55. Nelson Aguilar at 56. Marquez Callaway comes in at 57. Ryan Edwards at 58. AJ Green at 59. And Zach Pascal at number 60. Some extra options here, 61. Nick Westbrook Akine, who's the starting receiver for Tennessee this week with Julio and AJ out. Van Jefferson is a hit-or-miss guy. KJ Osborne, hit-or-miss guy. And Quintez Cephas rounds out the top 64 with Kendrick Bourne at 65. As we mentioned, guys, no Curtis Samuel on that list at 104. I think he does better than that this week. That's just my personal opinion. You can take it for what it's worth. But as you guys can see, I am a Washington fan, so I kind of know the team a little bit more than the other teams. But I'm also a homer, so you can't really take my word for it. Tight ends. Travis Kelce comes in at number 1. Darren Waller at number 2, TJ Hawkinson at number 3. Nothing has changed in the top 5 here. Kittle at number 4, Mark Andrews at number 5. Where it changes is Logan Thomas coming in at number 6, 4 spots up from last week. He's going up against Atlanta, giving up the 27th, or they're 27th against tight ends in terms of fantasy points. So they give up a lot of points to fantasy tight ends. 4,900 on DraftKings. He's the cheapest one of that top 7, even with Kyle Pitts, who is 500 or 5,000 on DraftKings. But a great matchup for him as well. I have him as a riser this week, and I should have put Logan Thomas on my risers, and I didn't. So that's my fault. I disrespected my own team's tight end. Maybe it's a reverse psychology thing where I just kind of want to stay away from it. But you guys shouldn't. Logan Thomas has a great matchup here. Go for it. Put him in your lineups. He should smash in this spot against a very weak Atlanta defense. Kyle Pitts at number 7. Noah Fant at number 8. Higbee comes in at number 9. Dallas Goedert up a spot from last week at number 10. Tunyon up 2 spots from the Green Bay Packers to 11. Jared Cook coming in at number 12, staying where he was last week. Gesicki is up 4 spots at number 13. And Tyler Conklin jumping up 10 spots for Minnesota, guys. Could be an interesting spot. A lot of people tend to like Tyler Conklin this week. Just keep in mind, Cleveland's giving up 9th fewest points to tight ends right now. So take that for what it's worth, right? I just don't know if that's going to translate well. They could go with other guys. Maybe they're thinking they'll shut down the receivers and have to go to those guys. We'll see. Hunter Henry, they kind of like here at number 15, up a spot. And then the 2 sleepers that they seem to have up boards is a Cowboys tight end with Dawson Knox and Blake Jarwin. Between the 2 of them, up 14 spots from last week. And then Dalton Schultz, rather. And then Dawson Knox coming in at 16 there with the 6-point rise in the rankings, going up against Houston, giving up the 28th most points to tight ends. All right. Whew. I'm going to take a little drink here before we stop. All right, so those are your Week 4 fantasy rankings. All right, I know I kind of burned through those a little bit more than I did last week. We wanted to make sure that we are, giving you guys what you need, making sure that we get it in a timely manner here. We were able to pull this off in 34 minutes, where last week was like an hour and a half. So I think we did a pretty good job here. Now I'll go through some more of this, key details. We'll do DFS stuff while we're doing this, okay? So that's not going to go away. We'll go back and review. I know there's some areas I kind of glossed over it. We will get back into that. And so a lot to take in here. I mean, there's a lot of interesting plays on the board here. I right away look at that Washington Atlanta game, and I think, if Washington's defense struggles again, they're talking big this week, but let's just be real here. If their defense struggles, could be a shootout. Could be big points for both teams. Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, Gibson. On the other side, I think I hate saying it because I feel like I'm going to be wrong and he's not going to do anything this week. But Cordell Patterson, I really like this week. I'm probably going to throw him in a couple DFS lineups, and just hope that kind of a flex option, if you will. But I like him this week. Calvin Ridley. Listen, William Jackson had a bad game, I think, last week, and people have said he's played kind of crappy the first 3 weeks. First of all, week 1, he actually didn't play that bad. In terms of like actual statistics, if you break down some of the stats, he actually isn't playing as bad as you would think. I think play calling has been a big issue for Jack Del Rio. I think it's been a big issue for Scott Turner. So that plays a lot into it. I don't think it's talent. So we'll see if they get in the right direction here. That being said, I think Kendall Fuller has been getting burnt all year. Kyle Pitts. I just have a feeling. The breakout game's coming for Kyle Pitts today. If they line him up in the slot or line him up outside in the second side where he's going up against non-AJ Terrell options, it's going to be a problem for Washington. I'm sorry, not AJ Terrell. What am I talking about? Kendall Fuller, or William Jackson, rather, being on the other side with Calvin Ridley, and then Kendall Fuller being on him. But I just think it's going to be a bad option. That's my personal analysis on that game in particular. Let's actually jump into the rankings here, and we'll talk about the quarterbacks, risers and fallers. So this segment, guys, is essentially going to be breaking down some of the guys from the list that we talked about, and essentially kind of identifying our biggest risers and fallers. If you guys have any fantasy questions that you need answered, drop it down in the chat. All right, and we'll answer as we go here. Now that we got through the rankings, I'll also bring up the rankings a little bit later potentially. But if you guys want the full rankings, just drop down into the description below. There's a link there for fantasypros.com. That should give you everything you guys need. Okay. Anywho. So, with that all being said, these are really interesting. When I looked at the risers and fallers this week, I tried to kind of identify the guys that are having, essentially the biggest rising and fall, like basically the biggest risers and fallers on the board, right? We wanted to try to identify those that are seeing the biggest shift, whether it's performance last week, injuries, or so forth. I also tried to base this off somewhat of DFS pricing to a degree, and I'll kind of review the ranks as we go here. But our QB risers of the week, we have Taylor Heineke, Derek Carr, who is a second-time riser, and Justin Herbert. Now, Taylor Heineke, as we said, had a plus 10 rise on the board this week. He is going up against Atlanta, giving up the 21st. They're 21st against the quarterback position right now. So they're giving up a lot of points. But they're not top 10 and giving up the most points to quarterbacks, but they're giving up almost the most points in that top 10 category. DK price for him is $5,900. I love the price, like I said, compared to a faller on our board in Daniel Jones, who's going up against the toughest defense against quarterbacks, $5,800 for him. So if you're going to be choosing between Daniel Jones and Taylor Heineke in your DFS lineups, I would go Taylor Heineke. I would probably stack him. If you can't get Terry, I would stack him with Logan Thomas. Maybe even Curtis Samuel as, again, honestly, that's actually not a terrible idea now that I'm thinking about it. Taylor Heineke, Curtis Samuel stack cost you $8,900 in DraftKings this week. Keep that in mind. Derek Carr, plus 5 on the list this week. He goes up. His second time he's risen up the board and made this list, which means that he was super low last week, and he's gone up like almost 10 spots in 2 weeks. Again, he's having an MVP caliber start to his season. Going up against the Chargers, though, who are giving up let's see here. Going against the Chargers, 6 against the quarterback. So giving up the 6th fewest points to quarterbacks right now, $5,900 on DraftKings. Justin Herbert, plus 5 as well for him against Las Vegas. On the other side of this, Vegas is giving up the 20th most points to quarterbacks, so take that for what you will. And then, of course, on the faller side, we mentioned this before, Big Ben fell like to number 30 on our rankings here, I believe. That's just incredible. I'm looking down now. Let's see. Big Ben. He fell 7 spots to 29 against Green Bay, who's giving up the 14th most points to the quarterback position. It's not really even a great matchup. And Joe Barry, I can tell you from experience, is one of the worst defensive coordinators in the NFL. So the fact that they're so down on Big Ben is alarming, to say the least. Going into the running back position, we have a lot more on the rising falling side. Austin Eckler now. Now, Austin Eckler only went up 5 spots this week, but I included him because the way I wanted to do this is little trends. If guys are popping up, especially running back and wide receivers, if they're popping up to the top 3 or top 2, I mean, those are for usually the most elite players are there every week. So I thought it was really interesting that the experts had Austin Eckler at number 2 overall for the running back position this week. 14th, Las Vegas is giving up the 14th most points to running backs. Austin Eckler's price is $7,600. It is pretty steep, if you ask me, to be quite honest with you. And if I look at the rankings here, let me just see kind of what the comparison is after that. So you have Henry at 88. You have Kamara under him at 84. And then you have Aaron Jones at 77. Other than that, everyone's below him. So DeAndre Swift is 62. I mean, I just love that price, even against a tough defense. David Montgomery, I really like his price too at 58. I really do. And Antonio Gibson, I do like at 61. Just a little bit more than I would say Jonathan Taylor at 27. So that's just me personally, but that's kind of where I see, him falling in. I'm a little surprised that Austin Eckler is ranked so high. But he's been playing really well, so I'm not that surprised. But the matchup I thought would maybe be like the reason why he's up so high. Even if he was like top 5 or top 4, we'd be like, oh wow, that's pretty awesome. So I'm a little surprised he's top 2. But at that all being said, he's a great option this week. If you have him, you're starting him. DeAndre Swift comes in next on the list here. Plus 10. He's one of the highest risers of the week. That's why he made these rankings. Chicago's given up the 10th fewest points to the running back position. So 6,200 on DraftKings. I do like DeAndre Swift. He should get a lot of checkdowns and catches and so forth, especially in a PPR. If you're doing this for DFS, definitely like DeAndre Swift this week. The other guy who really we talked about, I had a question about, is Zach Moss. Plus 27 on the rankings, skyrocketing after he was kind of the guy over Devin Singletary. But then last week, Devin Singletary was the guy over Zach Moss. So take that for what it's worth. I have hesitation personally about making him a riser, but the experts have spoken, and they have him 27 spots higher. You can't ignore that. So if you have Zach Moss, I would definitely say check the fantasypros.com rankings, and if you guys got people over Zach Moss in those rankings, then I would start those guys personally. But, I just don't trust it. It's kind of Shanahanigans when it comes to that Buffalo running back situation. So you could take that for what it's worth. And then Cordell Patterson coming in. Plus 16 on the board. He's been playing really well. We already know that the Falcons, Arthur Smith, basically said, hey, listen, we're going to do a 60-40 split with these guys. That's it. That's how we're going to do this, And it's going to be Mike Davis, 60-40 split with him, 60-40 split with Cordell Patterson. Doesn't really matter what the split is, really, as long as it's near that 50% mark. I like Cordell Patterson better. He brings way more in the pass game, and the Washington defense is tough against the run. That is somewhere where they've been consistently pretty good. Now, they do give up some yards here or there, but they are a bend-don't-break type defense in the red zone, especially when you're trying to run the ball. They're going to try to pass the ball and try to expose the defense from the linebackers, from the secondary, a little bit more here this week. And it's very, very possible that line gets pressure this week. So I'd be a little concerned about going anywhere near Mike Davis this week. But Cordell Patterson up 16 spots. He did come in lower than Mike Davis on the rankings, but I do like him here. 4,900 on DraftKings. I love the option there, especially. I think he could be a really good option for you guys. But again, I mean, this is also, I'm a Washington fan saying this, guys. So just keep in mind, I'm talking about my team's opponent who I really like in this week's game. On the other side of things, we have Damian Harris dropping 11 spots in the ranking. Tampa Bay is 21st against the run, so it's a good matchup in a way. But it is against Tom Brady, going back into Foxborough, a lot of emotion. Can that defense shut down the run, knowing that, hey, force this guy to pass? That's probably what they're going to try to come out and do. I'm just curious if maybe New England knows that, and they're going to end up using Brandon Bolden or Ramondre Stevenson just a little bit more. Would not be surprised if Brandon Bolden vultures the game away from Damian Harris this week. Tyson Williams down 17 spots, most likely because of the matchup against Denver, but also Le'Veon Bell was activated from the practice squad. So I would be sitting Tyson Williams this week. How I think that's how you say it. 5,200 on DraftKings, just a little high for me. I'd rather at that point go with Cordell Patterson or Zach Moss. Kenyon Drake at dropping 11 spots. I had Kenyon Drake on here before we knew about Josh Jacobs. Obviously, he's falling because Josh Jacobs is back. Could be a split type of situation. I'm curious to see how they're going to play when they're both healthy now, and now that Kenyon Drake's gotten a little involved. I think it's probably why he's on this list. Dalvin Cook was here, guys, and I should have put an asterisk next to this. Obviously, this is before the ranking came out that he was definitely going this week. I still have a little concern with Alexander Mattison, but not enough for me to be a faller on this week's list, although the rankings did have him dropping 10 spots technically, so that's why he's here. One second. Sorry, just taking a little swig of Dr. Pepper in here in the morning. All right, so our wide receivers, guys, we got Cooper Kupp coming in at the number 2 spot in this week's rankings. It's really the biggest reason why he's on this risers list, coming up 6 spots in the top 10 to be a top 3 option this week. Arizona giving up the 20th most points to wide receivers, 7,800 on DraftKings for Cooper Kupp. He's expensive, so if you're going to use him, make sure you have some contingency options. Curtis Samuel, for example, could be an interesting one to throw in your lineup. DJ Moore, +6 in the rankings. He jumps into the top 10 for the first time this year. 6,600. He's a much better value to me personally than maybe Cooper Kupp is. I think Cooper Kupp's progression will come back to the mean eventually. Maybe not, doing terrible, having like 2-point game, but I don't think he's going to be putting up these crazy games all game every week. I think this could be a week where that kind of slows down just a little bit and enough that maybe other guys get involved like Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, and Darrell Henderson are the guys that kind of are recipients of the pass game. Mike Williams, again in the top, on the risers list. He's a top 15 wide receiver, rising up again another 10 spots. He's been lights out. I don't expect this to last all year, but while he's hot, you use him. So he's a must start right now until he proves otherwise. And maybe this is the year where he just becomes a must start. But history has told us that, like, hey, don't rely your whole fantasy season on Mike Williams for the entirety of it. But take him in his hot streaks, right? That's what we learned with Mike Williams over the years. Jacoby Myers popping up 13 spots this week. Like I said, the experts really, really like him going up against the 31st worst defense against the wide receiver position in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 5,200 on DraftKings. He's a great price, and he jumps into the top 30 for the first time this week. And then Odell Beckham. As you can see the graphic on the screen, we talking Odell, man. Up 19 spots from last week. Had a pretty good comeback. No Jarvis Landry. That receiving core needs him. Minnesota is giving up the 29th most points to the wide receiver position. This is a smash spot for Odell Beckham at 5,800. I really, really like him. I can't see him not having a big game. And then on the other side, the shocking one to me was this one, DeAndre Hopkins. Dropping 10 spots. Again, Jalen Ramsey effect. It's incredible that his differential curve for Jalen Ramsey is essentially 10 points. But Los Angeles is giving up the 23rd most points to the wide receiver position. So that's where I'm kind of curious if this is going to go in that direction or not. We will see. Allen Robinson is coming in at the second part here, -5. This is all Justin Fields, guys. All Justin Fields. Buyer beware on this, 100%. I'm avoiding Allen Robinson in all formats this week. Juju Smith-Schuster at -8. Big Ben, I mean, they don't trust Big Ben. They don't trust Juju. So it must be a Deontay Johnson game and a Najee Harris game. Because apparently the experts do not like Big Ben and Juju. And with Chase Claypool out, that means Pat Freiermuth might step up. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they're thinking Najee Harris and they're thinking Deontay, right? And then I think with a little bit of Pat Freiermuth in there. And then the final faller from the wide receiver is Kenny Golladay, -6 on the game from last week. New Orleans is a 16th defense against the wide receiver position, so they're right in the middle of the pack, literally right in the middle of the pack. And Kenny G is 5,500 on DraftKings. So, I mean, that's just, listen, that's. I think Kenny's gonna have a big day. No Darius Slayton, no Sterling Shepard. I actually kind of like him this week. Okay. Anyways, and finally, we'll get into our tight ends of the week. Now, I got a little bit more for you guys this week. Now, Kyle Pitts was not higher in the rankings as I thought. Tyler Conklin, by the way, he is going to be the riser. Now, I put Kyle Pitts here because, like I said before, it's a good matchup. He didn't rise as much in the rankings as he did last week because he's already kind of getting it, but I put him here because I think this is the breakout game for Kyle Pitts this week. That's my fantasy prediction, bold prediction of the week, that he's going to literally shit on the Washington football team this week. from that position. I think both tight ends score. That's my big bold prediction, that Logan Thomas and Kyle Pitts is going to get in the end zone. And I honestly made a mistake. I should have put Logan Thomas on the rises as well. He should absolutely be on this list here for the matchup that he has this week. Tyler Conklin is plus 10 on the week. So listen, we have him in the rankings. Cleveland's giving up the 9th fewest points to the tight end position. I'm not a big fan of Tyler Conklin personally. I think this is going to be more of a wide receiver day. Maybe KJ Osborne gets more involved. And I think they're going to try to really run the ball against this team if they can. But listen, I think at the end of the day, this is Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen territory. And, maybe they're thinking that, oh, hey, the linebackers may not be able to stick with him. But, I mean, if they have Joke on him, I haven't really watched Joke play as much this year. But I know they have fast linebackers. And I know they have a really dominating defensive line. So that does scare me with the Vikings this week. Dawson Knox also comes in on the rankings here, as well as the Cowboys tight ends. As I mentioned, they both went up totality of 14 spots from last week. Blake Jarwin was up 8 spots. Dalton Schultz was up 6 spots. So they clearly like tight ends. Obviously, if I was going to start one or the other, I would say Dalton Schultz. He's been the more consistent guy the last couple of weeks. And then every time I say that, of course, Blake Jarwin is the guy that goes. And then the fallers. Austin Hooper, second week in a row. You never want to see him on there, but Austin Hooper, was it worth the investment there in Cleveland for that big-time tight end? Doesn't sound like it. Janu Smith, another faller here. I guess you could ask the same question to the Patriots. Was it worth signing 2 tight ends when you can't even get like both of them involved or really one of them involved? Hunter Henry seems like the guy to own, but I'd stay away from the tight ends here. You just don't know. I'd rather take a shot on Jacoby Myers. He seems to be the only one that has a legit rapport with Mac Jones. And then Jack Doyle, -7 on the chart as well. Listen, Miami's defense is pretty stingy. Jacoby Brissett, it could be a sloppy game. You know what? I just, at this point, tight ends, if you're going Jack Doyle, then you already have a problem with tight end that I really just, think you're going to have to stream and fly with whoever you have. So those are the risers and fallers of the week for all the position groups. If you guys, again, have any questions in the chat, please let me know. Now that we're through all our rankings, I'm more than willing to help out anyone who needs rankings here or analysis or, stardom, sit-ems or whatever. But it's very clear that when we look at these guys that there is some really interesting games here. Like you can kind of take a look at this and see like Cleveland kind of has a strategy here, like in a way, like they don't like Austin Hooper, but they love Odell, so you think that maybe the corners are going to be the suspect part of it here. Maybe you invest sleeper wise in Donovan Peoples-Jones. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. And then again, Austin Eckler is one of my most interesting guys at number 2. They have him really, really high. He's a must start regardless. Damian Harris could be one of those guys you fade. Again, guys, stay away from Daniel Jones this week personally. 2 receivers out. Could be one of those games where he runs more. But I would be personally staying away. Love Taylor Heineke in that smash spot. So those are your week 4 rankings, analysis, and updates here. Luckily we got through most of the picks and analysis and news and notes rather at the beginning of the show. And most of that stayed consistent. So with all that being said, guys, now that we're kind of finished with week 4, if there's no questions in the chat, we're going to jump into the parlay pick of the week and then head on out of here for the, for me, I'm going to go get breakfast and maybe crack a beer. I don't know. It's a little early, so maybe we'll wait a little bit, but I just won't tell you guys, right? But before we do that, again, we have the parlay pick of the week here. Just so you guys, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, here are the contest entry rules. So every week I'm going to be giving you guys a parlay pick of the week opportunity where you guys, I'll be providing the 4 or 5 game parlay pick. And then you guys will basically have to write down in the comments your answers to it. If you guess the parlay pick correctly in the comments down below before 1 o'clock Eastern time, then you guys will be entered into a contest at the end of the year that can win you prizes such as an NFL hat, a replica jersey, and a custom authentic jersey if we can reach 200 subscribers. So now that I have the opportunity, if you guys like this video or you have friends that you want to get involved so you can get that authentic jersey, we're trying to get to 200 subscribers. So please do click that subscribe button, click that like button so we can be, get found in this, whatever you call it, hodgepodge of fantasy football channels from all these main shows that already have their following. We want to get the little guy a chance, right? So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop that comment with your parlay pick of the week for your chance to enter for a couple prizes at the end of the year. And with that being said, without further ado, here is our parlay pick of the week. So I went with something a little different this week than last week. Not really, but I felt like I kind of put together a pretty easy one. Okay, this is like, this is like normal odds, like, right? Like, this is not anything too crazy, too like, whoa, first touchdown kind of thing, right? Jameis Winston, over 0.5 interceptions. I just think that James Bradbury is going to pick him off at one point or another. I don't know. I mean, it's you got like a 50-50 chance of that happening. So at a plus 130, I'm going to take those odds. Detroit Lions money line. I'm going with that Detroit Lion against Justin Fields. I guess I'm going with Justin Fields failing in this. If you disagree with me, then change your option in the comments below, and you get a chance at authentic jerseys. So that's the beauty of this. If you're a Chicago fan, you see this and you're like, F this guy. Well, all right, bet against me, and maybe you'll win and you'll get in there. So, Deebo Samuel, over 3.5 rushing yards. We've seen Deebo get a lot of these jet sweeps over the years, blah, 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 throughout. The running back position is struggling, if you will, for the Niners, or it's just kind of a revolving door. I wouldn't be surprised if he can at least get you 4 yards in the rushing game. So I took those odds. And then Kansas City Chiefs, I'm a Washington fan, so I'm going to go against the Eagles here and hope for the best, that the Kansas City Chiefs just completely dominate the spread here and win by more than 7. Maybe, a 10-point game, whatever you will. Maybe they'll get a safety and get a 9-point game. Or maybe they'll even just go for 2 and get that 8-point game, and then we'll win. So, as you see, guys, I put a $10 wager on that. If I win, I'm going to win $181. If you win, you get an opportunity for a chance to win a free custom authentic jersey if we can get the channel up to 200 subscribers. So, again, like, share with a friend, and post those comments down below. I would really love to see some people enter into this contest. You don't have to pay a dime for a chance to win a free custom authentic jersey. I think it's pretty worth it, in my opinion, I mean, heck, I'd do it. So, anyways, guys, that's going to be all for the show this week. We're going to leave it off with that. And good luck on your fantasy matchup. Guys, if you need any questions answered after the show ends, hit me up on Twitter at RNFF Designs. I'll be around. I'll help you with any questions or any, lineup decisions that you might have. And if not, good luck on your matchups, and we'll talk to you next week.